lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete that. He's crazy
Like I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through, he tags Richard back.
Good afternoon, sim racing fans, live from one of the most famed short tracks in all of racing and all of iRacing this evening. We're live with the Bootleg Racing League for the 2015 Outlaw Modified Series Season 2 on the Global Sim Racing channel. I want to welcome you up to the GSRC booth this evening. Myself, Evan Pasoko, going to be joined alongside with Sean Ambrose, and our director is Kevin Brown. As always, camera sets are provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, you were out there at the Paperclip 1 week ago, and we got this one rolling. Now we're on to race 2 in this 11-race championship. We're at a race that you could call it a Paperclip if you wish, but it is a very different racetrack. This racetrack, by the way, was made about 145 years ago and still provides some of, if not some of the most exciting racing you can find anywhere with the SKs.
Yeah, originally known as the Stafford Springs Agricultural Park, it was a horse racing facility. Half-mile horse racing track up until the end of World War II. And in 1959, it became one of the early tracks in NASCAR. And then in the late 60s, the Root brothers bought the track. Chuck and Jack Jr. bought the track, and I don't think anybody is not familiar with Jack Root and his history with NASCAR racing and as a broadcaster and a famous track owner. And now his son, Mark Root, continues to manage the track. But this track has seen some of the greats of all time here in modified racing and in NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt's raced here. Jerry Cook, Ron Bouchard, Jeff Bodine, Richie Evans, Charlie Jazumbach has been around this track many times in his day. Jimmy Spencer, Tim Richmond, Teddy Christopher many times has won at this track. And we're going to see an exciting race tonight. We saw a great one at Martinsville last week, and I don't think tonight is going to be short of any excitement at all, as Stafford Springs tends to bring out the best in everybody. This is a tough track. Make no mistake about it. Not a lot of banking here. You got to get that car in really hard and get it settled to get off these turns quickly, because these cars have a lot of torque and they will snap on you coming off. And you do not want to bend these machines up, because they don't handle real well when they're bent up. And you need a great handling car to get to the front and win this race. And a lot of guys here prefer to start at the back and let the race come to them. I don't know if that's going to be the case tonight, but we are going to see an exciting one, Evan.
And much like we saw 1 week ago, this event is only 75 laps. A lot of time you'll talk about these short track racing events. You'll be up there at 100, 200. There is not a lot of time, really, to get the job done. Take a look at the guy that sits currently in the fastest in the warm-up, but again, there is no technical qualifying. 1 week ago for the season opener, the field was determined by an iRacing random draw this evening. The top 8 will be an invert from results from 1 week ago. The rest will be determined by iRating. We do believe that's the way that's going to shake out. But you look at practice speeds, can give you a good idea of who's going to be fast. And, well, it is the defending 2015 Season 1 Crooked Still Late Model Series champion at the top of the pile right now. In that 63 car, Christopher Hensley is fastest by about half a tenth of a second over everybody else. Some other big names up there, you got Donnie Moore, Ernest Brown, Brian Neff, and Brad Spidle throughout the top 5. Looks like it's going to be 15 cars this evening. You do have 16 entries, the 34 of Tyler Young. His machine is sitting down on the infield of the racetrack, not currently putting down a time, but he could make it a 16-car total field. You talk about 75 laps, that only puts us at 38 miles, 37.5 if you want to get technical, because this is a 1.5-mile Stafford Motor Speedway. For this evening, Stafford Springs 75. We talked about Martinsville, how that was the season opener to get all of this really going. It was Ronald Henry who took home the checkered flag 1 week ago. He also doubled it up by taking home the checkered flag in Martinsville as well in the late model series that this same league runs with. They have 3 different series that they do run: the Crookstill late model series, the Grand National series, and then this, the Outlaw modified series. So coming into this one, in theory, Ronald Henry would have quite the bit of boost. However, he's not at the racetrack this evening.
Yeah, Ronald Henry apparently missing out on this one, and tough to take a hit in the points in only the second race of the week. But hey, life happens, and for whatever reason, Ronald couldn't be here. But Donnie Moore's here, Matt Hoos is there, and they're looking to gain on Ronald Henry tonight, and they need a good finish to do it. And I got to tell you, Christopher Hensley with a 19.768 right now to lead practice, brother. I'm telling you, that's flying around this place.
You look at this racetrack, and it's not that easy to, be able to get a good lap around here when you're talking about the semi-banked banking that this racetrack features. Tyler Young has hit the racetrack. He does appear to be working with some connection issues, which I always call the iRacing equivalency of a mechanical issue. So the 34 is at least making an attempt to get out there on track, Sean. Not sure how that will play out and if that will be resolved, because just now, within 2 minutes left in our 30-minute warm-up session before we do get this one green flag racing. Some serious notes to note for the way this championship and the way these events will roll all the way through from the season opener 1 week ago to the championship in round number 11. We talked about how the grid is inverted for the top 8 in the previous race. Fixed setups with a 50% fuel cell is going to be mandated this evening. Double file restarts. The lap machines will be forced to go to the back. The lucky dog is in effect. One fast repair, but there is one rule that makes this series very, very interesting, John, and that's something to do with the tires, or rather lack thereof.
Yeah, well, you go up on the jack, you lose all your points. That's it, basically. There are no tire changes allowed, and so they've got to keep these tires fresh for 75 laps. There's a way to do it, and there's certainly a way not to do it. I prefer to have those fresher tires at the end. You're probably going to want to be a little easy in the opening stint of this race, and if you get a caution flag, that'll certainly help you out. But you want to save those tires because you're going to need them in the end. You want to charge hard and make your way to the front in the closing 20 laps of this race. It is a sprint. Trust me, 75 laps around this track will go off quickly. And right now, I think we are in store for a real shootout tonight. Last week certainly was. I don't expect anything different at all this week, Evan.
We're going to be taking a mentality into this, that this is a 250-lap race, Sean, and we're starting 175 in, 75 to go. That's exactly what you're going to have to see these guys do. You talk about a lot of the people, they like to kind of sit back, let the race come to them. It's a good way to get things kicked off, but there's a point, and unlike in many races, when you have a shorter distance like this, that point is going to come a lot sooner when you need to go for it. These race cars were not made to look pretty. They were made to race fast and be able to withstand contact. That's what leads to seeing that big chrome horn on the front of these things. You're taking a look at Christopher Hensley down the front straightaway in that number 63. He was just knocked off at the top spot by Donnie Moore, who came home second 1 week ago, and if he's able to get a good finish, we would ensue that because Ronald Henry is not here this evening, that this could be a very good night for that team. The field is now going to be set up, and it's on the scoring pylon as practice comes to a close, and we're going to run you down through the grid from Stafford Motor Speedway to get the Stafford Springs 75 underway with the Bootleg Racing League 2015 Outlaw Modified Series Season 2. Ryan Nuss, the number 13 car, is going to be put on pole position. Outside on row run to 19, that's going to be Philip Temples in P2.
Yeah, and they're in P3 in a number 76 machine made famous by Jimmy Blewett. Brad Speidel, number 26, sitting on the outside there in fourth. Donnie Moore.
How about Matt Hoos? One more spot back at a grid up on the inside of row number 3 in P5. Alongside him in 6 to 63, that's Christopher Hensley.
Yeah, and sitting there on the inside row, inside there, Matt Shinosky in a number 35 machine, and just outside of him in a number 41, Tim Knott.
As the field rolls from the grid, you got Lowell Jewell and rolling off in P9. That's going to be the inside of row 5. You're defending 2015 Season 1 Outlaw Modified Series champion. Next to him, it's Dennis Ellis rounding out the top 10. Kenny Morris and Brian Neff, the final cars in through 11th and 12th position. The back four going to be on provisionals.
Yeah, and your back four are going to be Ernest Brown starting at 13th in a number 8 machine. Jeff Rudolph in 14th in a number 12. Brian Young in a number 83. And Tyler Young rounds out the field in 16th place there in a number 34 machine.
We're glad to have everybody with us this afternoon for some good short track racing on the Global Sim Racing channel. We get set to go at it as the lights of the pace car are off for the Bootleg Racing League. Check them out at facebook.com/Bootleg Racing League, as well as bootlegracingleague.com for everything short tracks. SKs, you got modified, you got touring nationals, but this evening it's time for the Outlaw Modifieds to get the green flag. The pace car takes to the safety of pit lane through the access road down in corner number 3, and off of 4, Ryan Nuss coming off the corner. Green flag flies and he sails that number 13 car off to quarter number 1 in P1.
Back in the field here, everybody 2 by 2 right now, keeping it clean. Let's see how they get off of 2. Everybody's still straight, and that's a good thing as we get hard into 3 right now and headed to 4. Everybody is still under power. All these
contact at 19, Philip Temple's big trouble.
And I spoke too soon. Big trouble there. Everybody, the whole back of the field involved in that.
And Philip Temples with big trouble after starting on the outside of the front row. You talk about getting into these quarters. These cars have a lot of drag in that second high gear, so you don't really got to slam on the brakes. But the 19, he found himself working up on the outside lane, and you see, conveniently enough, or ironically enough, right where there's tire marks painted on the outside wall in the sim, it's exactly where the 19 machine hit it. Temples went off. He bounced down, clipping the car that had slid through to what would be P3, the number 63 of Christopher Hensley. He was fortunate enough to not get turned around, but Temples ended up in the fence. He got hit in the 55, a couple of other cars, the 41, the 09, and like you said, pretty much the back half of that field, at least 4 of them going to get some significant damage because they just had nowhere to go, because that's coming off the corner. Once you dive it in there and you pick back up the throttle, you can't just turn it more and go to the bottom. You're committed, and it happens at a very unfortunate part of the racetrack that catches a couple of those guys up in that wreck.
Yeah, and the whole back half of the field is going to need to use that fast repair right now because all of those cars got damaged. Matt Shinosky, I don't know how he did it, but he manages to avoid Philip Temples coming back across the track, makes an evasive move to the left there, almost brings it all the way into the infield, and keeps the car going as the rear end comes away from him, keeps that car under power. Matt Shinosky avoids a near-fatal experience there.
Some other drivers not as fortunate, many of them down on the pit lane, and again, it's a situation when we talk about the league rules, the fact that something that makes the series very unique is that the fact that you're not allowed to change tires. Somebody might go down there, they might, be focused on, trying to assess the damage to the race car, they might be talking to a spotter or whatever, Sean. Doesn't matter if you forget to uncheck your tires. As soon as that car goes up, if you're telling your virtual pit crew that you want tires, if you don't uncheck those tires, as soon as that thing goes up on a jack, instantly you're losing all of the points that you're going to have the ability to earn throughout the evening. Speaking on points, it is a very interesting points ladder that they do have in this series. It's a situation where you look at it and it's quite exciting actually because it's different. The leader walks away evidently, as you would expect, with the most points in the championship. That's pretty much the only thing that is uniform through that. Unlike having big gaps, if you're up there, this series really rewards you for good finishes, Sean. 2nd through 5th, get 9 points. 6th through 8th, get 8 points. You got 3 more guys. The next 3, they get 7. The next 3 get 6, and then 5 and 4 and 3, all the way down to 25th position and 24th, getting 2 apiece. So, you talk about having good points nights. I like the way it's strategized here as far as you get in a top 5, you're right there neck and neck with the leader.
Yeah, you are, and so there's great opportunity for everybody in this series to be a contender. You've just got to, you got to stay on point. You got to watch yourself. You got to take care of your car because when you only get one fast repair at these short bull rings, preservation is the key. You got to finish the race, and you got to do it in the top 10 to get some valuable points towards the championship. Right now, Ryan Nuss is going to lead the way on this restart, Evan.
Talk about the top 10. Well, we're already 10% of the way through the 13 car. Once again, Ryan Nuss going to sail that number 13 machine down to corner 1 as our race leader. Green flag flies back down the front stretch. We're back at it, and once again, the side-by-side battle is for second on back. We saw big trouble for the car that started in second spot on the start of the race. The outside, big trouble now turned, and big contact trouble for Donnie Moore.
Donnie Moore having trouble getting off of turn 2 there.
And somehow we still remain green. The 7 car got hard into the fence after Donnie got turned up into him. That was Jeff Rudolph. He went all the way around, and still no caution after about 4 cars were pancaked into the outside retaining wall in the middle of the pack. You stay green flag racing, and still with 12 cars on the lead lap. That was good news for Ryan Nuss. The point I was, attempted to make, Sean, before they all nearly wrecked down the back straightaway, was the fact that the car that started second on the start had absolutely no luck, and that was something that I felt like we were going to see until we saw issues down on the inside line for the 26 of Donnie Moore. All things considered, that car does not look all that bad. The 7 of Dennis Ellis is pretty torn up with front and rear end damage, but so far everybody that was in that incident is still out on the racetrack.
Well, Dennis has definitely got his hands full right now. I'm looking at that car. He is bent up all 4 sides of that thing, and he is going to have a tough go here if he can't get into the pit and get some repair. But I got to be honest with you, those guys, the reason we're still green flag racing is everybody just managed to come back straight onto the track going forward. Nobody really stalled on the racing line, so the green flag stays out of it.
And that's not good news for your former race leader, we'll call him now. The 13 of Ryan Nuss looked a little bit squirrely coming off the corner. Just as I say that, he plows it into the fence off of corner number 4, checking up the 76 of Brad Spidle, but not before. Both the 21 machine up the front of the field, Matt Hoos, and the 63 of Christopher Hensley making the move on the preferred lane down the inside. Will move the 21 and the 63 machines to the point across the start-finish line to take lap number 14 off of 13. The 21 now leading his second lap of the event. So we saw that Nuss was really good on the restarts. Then he started to get squirrely, caught the fence, which seems to be a common theme at this racetrack. There's not a whole lot of banking down on that inside lane, which is the preferred way around this racetrack. These race cars as well, very sensitive to the throttle. You've seen that a couple of times with everybody bouncing off the wall. Nuss, after getting into the fence, checked up the guys behind him. Things have kind of worked out. He still sits 1 spot over Matt Janowski right there in that 35 car who sits P4. He's done a good job of gaining spots, as well as Brian Neff started 12 60 cars up the 5th.
Well, Evan, the short wheelbase and the tremendous amount of torque these cars have make it a real challenge to get off these turns clean. Turn 4, if you don't just make a perfect exit there, you will find that fence, and it is not pretty when you hit it. We saw with the first caution flag tonight, but right now everybody's kind of gotten in line and getting around this thing right now. We're seeing a pretty good race develop up front here between Matt Hoos and Christopher Hensley.
You see, Hoos has had the opportunity to go to the outside a couple of times. That's not where he wants. Goes to the inside, uses the apron, and gets into him. Contact. And Christopher Hensley going for the top spot. Turns the 21 of Matt Hoos from the lead position. No caution. Short track racing. The chrome horn went to the apron, trying to make the aggressive move. You see the replay there. Goes down into no man's land. Got the spot, but ended up getting into him after it looked like Matt tried to shut the door one more time, Sean, and that's got to sting for that 21 camp because there's no caution, and after fighting to get to the top spot after starting in 5th, now he finds himself way back in P12, 12 seconds off the top spot, and the last car on the lead lap.
Yeah, and that car is not up to speed, certainly not up to speed yet. Tough break for Hoos there, but he's going to stay in this thing. He's still got about 7 seconds in front of our leaders now, but he's going to have to do it the hard way for sure. Best bet for Hoos right now is to get a yellow flag, but I don't know if he's going to get it. The field is starting to spread out just a little bit. Hensley is right now trying to fend off Shinoski, and the 35 machine is coming up on Hensley pretty quick here, and that could be a race developing. Ryan Nuss hanging in there in 3rd.
I want to say we remain clean and green, and at least for the moment we do, but we have had 2 incidents since the last time we were doubled up behind the iRacing Ford vs Mustang pace car. One of them right off the restart down the back straightaway, and then contact between the top 2 cars on track. However, we're green nonetheless, and a couple of guys have really gotten torn up in all of this. You talk about the Matt Goose entry, he's got a fair amount of damage from that contact. Anything good news for him is he got turned into the grass as opposed to up against the outside retaining wall, but other guys that have found contact in this stint
Brian Neff
still sitting with damage.
Neff into the wall. Neff catches the fence coming off the turn there and got that car up on 2 wheels, Evan.
It's an interesting situation because he didn't just drive it into the wall, but he was actually going to be coming up about half a car length off it, got sideways, and had to kind of step it up a little bit of banking here to try to correct that. We were on board with him as that situation happened. He was riding behind that 35 car, and you're seeing that, or rather behind the 13 of Brian Nuss, who's in front of Brian Neff, made the contact, and again, those open wheels climbed up the outside wall just a little bit. All things considered, the Winn-Dixie number is not all that badly beat up. He still sits in the top 4 spot, and he is one of our biggest movers so far in the event. Gave a shout out to him that he's passed 7 cars to gain 8 spots. After starting 12th, he sits in P4 right now. Another guy that's doing a good job of minding his P's and Q's, Sean, is Jeff Rudolph in the number 12 car. That machine's still looking fairly clean. Started in 14th, he's gone up to 7th right now. That's 3.3 seconds off the race leader, the 63 car.
Yeah, and Jeff is looking good. I mean, he's making his way around this track. I don't think he's trying to use up his tires yet. You know, I'm watching his line right now, and he's taking one of the easier lines around this track, not driving it too hard in, just kind of drifting it in and getting on it easy coming out. So Jeff Rudolph could certainly be a contender here at the end of this race, as it does look like he's taking care of this car. You know, back on that incident that just happened there with Neff, great job by Brad Speidel to keep control of the car and, you know, be cautious of having to make an evasive move there. He manages to hold on to his position there in 5th. And right now, though, Christopher Hensley, still your leader, kind of checking out a little bit. And I don't know if in modified racing you can ever say anyone is checking out, but Christopher Hensley is starting to open it up a little bit on Matt Shanoski.
That 0.8 of a second gap that he holds right now is looking pretty solid. You got Shadowski right there, P2. Gains a little bit of time the last time around. That 35 car running a 22.9L as opposed to our race leader with a 3.46 atop the board. You can see Hensley down in corners 3 and 4. Matt's not clear, though. He's got quite a big group of company, and you're taking a look as they come by at a 4 and across the flag stand right here. He has Ryan Nuss right behind him. We also talked about the 60 machine of Brian Neff. That machine, the one that caught the fence not too long ago. They are all over the back of him. Maybe not in a situation like we saw at the front of the field when Hensley was closing in very quickly on Matt Hoos to the point where they can just kind of try to pick and choose where they want to go and make a really aggressive move, but they're there to the point where they're riding. There's no way that the 35 is not taking a peek to the rearview mirror every once in a while. If they continue to apply that pressure, they can either force their way into making that 35 car make a mistake, or maybe they might actually just give up. We'll have to see, as the 13 and the 60 car both plastered on the back bumper of the second place car and Matt Shanoski in the 35. Each of these guys are only separated by about a half a car length when they go down into the corner.
Well, I'm watching Lowell Jewell, who just made pretty quick work of getting around Jeff Rudolph, who seems to be off pace a little bit. I don't know if maybe he got a little bit of the fence, but Jeff does seem to be off pace right now, and he is battling with the machine of Tim Knott, number 41, who is a lap down. But Lowell Jewell, your Season 1 Outlaw Modified Series champion, is now in 7th place, up from 9th, trying to get there to the top 5. He's got a ways to go, but he can certainly do it. Lowell running a pretty good line right now. That car looks clean and mean, Evan.
And very quickly, just about 3-4 laps from now, going to be approaching what will become the halfway point in this event. Not that far away from that. Again, very quickly a caution within the first 10 laps, but after that, once you get these green flag laps logging, it is not a long way down to the real ending portions of this race. We've talked about people that have been moving forward, the likes of Brian Neff, as well. Lowell Jewell coming in as the defending champion. He's picked up 2 spots, as well has Dennis Alice. We have equally had a couple of guys that have not quite had the best luck. You're taking a look on board to the back end of our race, or rather the second car right now, the 35 of Matt Chudowski. Looking back, you see the 13, you see everybody all over him, peaking high, peaking low. If anything, they might get caught up fighting each other for third because it looks like Neff is trying to get around Nuss there.
Yeah, he is, and I'll tell you what, he has the chrome horn out and ready. He is all over the pepper of Nuss right now. Neff doing all he can. All it takes is a little tap, and that'll give you the space you need to get by. And I got to tell you, the race at Alpha 2 is always the one you want to watch, because that race down the backstretch and into 3 is always a good one there.
And you look on board on the right side of the 76 machine, just behind them. That's Brad Speidel. He's taking a look up at that 3-car battle, which is for second, or the 2-car battle for third. You see, check it up, is that 13. Nuss got a little bit squirrely off the corner, had to overcorrect that by getting off the accelerator. 60 machine right behind him, tried to step at a line and a little bit sideways. Went that number, or rather the 60 machine of Brian Neff, who sits in P4. The more they fight for second on back, that is only more good news for Christopher Hensley. The 63 car is really starting to pull away as you look out the front end of that 60. There's a shot. He'll give the 13 a boost as Neff goes to the inside on Chudowski. That does not work, and now Neff will go to the outside, side by side for P3.
Yeah, and Neff is trying to make it work, and he can't quite pull it off. It's a great run by Ryan Nuss, getting off the turn right there. Had it down inside and got on the power quick. And whoa, Neff almost gets that horn on Ryan Nuss right there. That was really, really close. What a great battle going on between these 4 cars right now. Brad Speidel just sitting back there in the catbird seat, licking his chops. And man, Neff almost got some of Nuss's bumper right there. Speidel looks to make a move down inside and just can't quite pull it off.
I'm not sure if the driver of that number 13 machine, Ryan Nuss, is much faster than the driver of the 35 MAV TV American Real Entry in front of him of Matt Chudowski, but nonetheless, I think Brian Neff is faster than Ryan Nuss in front of him, because that 60 has been all over the back bumper. One time he checked up for him, nearly split himself out as he was trying to give way for the 35 and the 13 fight with each other. Eventually, once you make contact 3-4 times, Neff's going to quit lifting at some point, because he has to get going if he wants to be in a spot that he wants to be able to get. If he can get one spot, that'll be up to a podium, but it would obviously want to get in a position that if they could get the benefit of a caution flag, in a spot to really take a challenge for the race win in this one. You got Hensley, though. He is liking, but yet not liking what's happening behind him, Sean. The more they fight, the more he pulls away. He's up to 1.4 seconds. The more they fight the way they have been, the higher risk of a caution. That is exactly what the 63 team does not want to see.
Well, Hensley had a great run last week, was on with us after the race. And you know what? I'm not surprised to see him up here as he's running for the Teamsters tonight. And that car is just on point right now. Hensley just can't seem to make a mistake. I certainly don't want to jinx him, but the real race is behind him. He's got clean air in front and clean air behind right now. It's his race to win. It's certainly his race to lose, too. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing, as we've already clicked off now 46 laps in this race, Evan.
Once again on board with the car that runs in P5. He started on the inside of row 2 in third, but Brad Speidel has kind of settled in the line here for the longest time, and he continues to get a front row seat of the fight between Ryan Ness and Brian Neff. Good news for the Neff camp is that these are SKs, and it's not the late model, or it's not the national cars that this series also runs, because of the fact that front end and the radiator might be out of that thing at this point, because he has used that chrome horn up on the front of his Winn-Dixie number 60 machine quite a few times. Now a little bit of separation, 0.4 of a second separate him before he can get back up to Ryan Nuss. Now I'm starting to think that it's Matt Chudowski who, if he wasn't in second right now, then the 13 and the 60 would be pulling away a little bit, because they continue to fight, they continue to catch him. The thing that the 35 has going for him, again, he's in the way. He's able to make that car very wide. We saw a pass for the lead, but it wasn't really a pass. He kind of moved him for it. Eventually, I think that's what we might have to see between these three guys.
Yeah, we're riding with Chudowski now, and you see there, it's all the action is right behind him. He is making that SK modified just as wide as he can right now. He's got the speed, and he's got a great entry, and right now looks to be a great exit. You got to remember, these cars don't have any taillights on them. No brake lights here. You've really got to anticipate. Got to really anticipate what the guy in front of you is going to do getting into these turns.
You saw a big checkup there again. Ryan Nuss just a little bit sideways off the corner and nowhere for anybody to go. Brian Neff jacked up, and the car that tried to capitalize was Brad Speidel. He looked to the inside, nothing came from that. If he was really able to establish that spot, I feel like he would have been able to get the job done, because so far we have really seen, Sean, that the inside is the place to be. You don't want to be outside on a restart, and so far all our passes have been made on the inside, sometimes forcibly, but nonetheless it shows you that they really want to be able to get down to the inside. It's funny because we're saying you want to get those left side tires close to the apron. The apron is really before that yellow line is, but it's where the asphalt is a much lighter color because there's not a lot of rubber down there. You really want to find yourself in that bottom lane underneath those first set of white hash marks.
Well, we see Hensley get around Kenny Morris here. Kenny Morris doing a really good job of getting out of the way. Kenny's got a lot of damage on that HD machine and did a real good job of just kind of moving over there for race leader Hensley. He will have the rest of these guys, Shinosky and Nuss, Neff, and Speidel all getting to him here pretty quick, but I'm sure he'll do the same, as right now he's really not battling for position. Oh, Nuss!
Speidel and Neff contact in the 13, and the 60 machines go around exactly what Christopher Hensley did not want to see, and exactly what we thought would probably happen. The caution flag flies after the 13 machine got sideways, and Ryan Nuss just having some issues. He spins out. That's not even what the issue happens, because Neff ended up opening the inside up to a little bit. Talked about how Brad Speidel tried that inside move the last time they checked out. Well, he put the tires there and said that Ed was going to take that position, and he turned the 60 machine after Neff came down across his nose. So the two cars that were fighting with each other all race long wreck at the same time, but they didn't wreck with each other. Nonetheless, we slow them down for the second caution flag in this evening. Stafford Springs 75, and this time it will be with inside of 20 laps to go. Race leader Christopher Hensley not even thinking about coming to pit road.
And you know, Nuss was just a little hard to the throttle there. It looked like coming off, and that car just gradually came around and comes all the way down to the infield. No damage on that machine, but he did spin it. He's going to lose valuable positions on this track. With when we get this thing restarted, we're going to have less than we're going to be right there at about 25 laps to go when we get restarted, Evan.
You talk about that 13. His machine has not been all that stable, really at all, in this event. We've talked repeated times on how Brian Neff and the 60s have to check up for the 13 getting sideways once he tries to give it a little bit more wheeled and put up a fight for the cars that were sitting in second position. Now the question is, Christopher Hensley was the fastest car. Once he got to the top spot, he had to use that chrome horn to get there, and once he did, they had a second gap. He was able to grow said gap to 1.4 seconds. That's because they were fighting for second. Question will be, how can this 63 car hold up when he has the likes of Shinosky, Speidel, Nuss, and Jewel now? How about Lowell Jewel and that 55 defending series champion now up inside the top 5? They're going to be right behind Christopher for what could be either one or a set of late race restarts.
Yeah, well, before that caution flag right there, Lowell was in 7th. He's managed to get his way up to 5th. Lowell's been running hard and having a pretty good race here. He could be a contender before this thing is done. We know he's fast. We know he can do it. The question is, will he find the right opportunity to get those positions? This restart is going to be critical for Christopher Hensley. He's going to need to get out of the box quick, make it down to that turn first, and just find the perfect exit to put some more space between him and Matt Shinosky, who is probably, he may try to fight it inside, but if Hensley gets a good jump, then Matt Shinosky should be able to pull right in behind and follow him right around.
The lights go off on top of the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car. It is going to be the Teamsters 63 of Christopher Hensley. Will be starting once again on the top spot. Things have not looked pretty for the cars that have restarted second, and that could be arguably our race leaders' biggest competition. Up on the outside lane in the BAV TV American Real entry is the 35 of Matt Shinosky. Pace car is down and away. Could it be for the final time this evening? 16 laps to go at the start-finish line. Hensley's on the accelerator. Green flag flies into Stafford Springs 75. Once again, is green flag racing down to quarters 1 and 2. Already the side-by-side fight becomes first second. Shinosky desperately wanting to get clear of Brad Speidel. He'll do it down the back.
Yeah, and Hensley got that critical jump that we talked about there. Gets the jump, and Ryan Nuss is not giving up. please don't make any mistake here. Nuss is still in it to win this thing. He is charging hard, and he's got Brad Spidle lined up right now, trying to get under him, trying to get that horn to him, maybe get him a little bit out of shape. But right now, we got a great battle going on here, second place through sixth.
Same situation that we saw in the last long green flag stretch. Our leader with the biggest gap between any two cars on track, and then you got everybody else mid-pack in groups. You got a set of 3 here, you got a set of 4 there. Nobody really in the clear of anybody else. The biggest gap on track is between 11th and 12th positions at the moment. That involves the guys that we have seen that have had issues so far tonight in this event. But Ryan Nuss in that number 13 machine, after just having some more issues, is trying to get back to where he started, and that's the top of the board. Sits in 4th right now. Spidle in front of him in 3rd. In front of that is the 35 of Matt Shadowski, but still nobody at the challenge at 63. It's Christopher Hensley by a second at the stripe.
Well, Lowell Jewell's got to start pedaling hard if he wants to get on the podium in this thing tonight. He is still sitting in 5th place, not running quite as fast as our leader, but only within about a 1/10 of a second of him. So Lowell Jewell has pretty good pace, but the question is, can he get to Ryan Nuss and Brad Spidle to get around those guys? The laps, we are now only 10 laps to go, Evan. I just don't know if there's enough time for Lowell to pull this thing off tonight.
And that not only is he sitting still in the timing right now, but he is also losing in the intervals. 2.2 seconds now. Sits Lowell Jewell off of the top spot. Christopher Hensley, who tops the board right now, is looking for a great run after not making the top 3 1 week ago at the Martinsville Speedway. We talked about Donnie Moore and other drivers that could come into this after having some good finishes, not in this event this evening, that are unable to really fight for it. A guy like a Ronald Henry, Moore we thought could be one that could capitalize the most. Well, he got ushered out of the way from the top spot. He has been able to recover, but only 3 spots. That machine now back up to P8 after once topping the charts.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've seen a great one here tonight, but man, this thing is almost over as quickly as it started. And Matt Shinowski right now doing all he can to just try and get up there to Hensley. And at the same time, in his mirror, looking at Brad Spidle, who definitely wants to get up to P2. Brad is digging hard, and really could be any moment here before Brad might put the horn to him just a little bit and try and make his way around. Nuss seems to be a little bit off pace, can't seem to quite get to these guys. And Lowell Jewell, as we said, just time is running out. Just doesn't look like he's going to have enough to get there. There could be a late caution. We never know. We certainly hope not. But right now, Christopher Hensley remains strong at the front of the field, Evan.
Side-by-side battle just now getting going for P9. The 7 of Dennis Ellis has company on the inside. Brian Neff going to go and make that move. 41 car, that's the lap machine of Tim Nod. Will follow them through as well. And that's going to be a position change outside of the top 8 in this field right now. One of the spots inside of the top 5, maybe the only spot in the top 5 as we get 5 laps to go. Brad Spidle still very close on the back bumper of Matt Shadowski. Don't be surprised if they start to duke things out here once we get down to about 2 laps to go, separated by about half a car length in the quarter. Good run off for Shadowski as he opens that up to about 1.5.
Yeah, but Spidle's not giving up as we roll on board with him right now. You see how deep he is digging into these turns. And right here, could do it. Is he going to leave the door open? No, Shinowski closes it on him. Spidle not with the greatest run off the turn there, but again, braking late, trying to make up position into these turns. Got to find the right mix to get back to the power and get into a drag race with Shinowski. It's going to be really hard for Spidle as we see him get right there to the bumper. Doesn't quite touch him, but man, they got a great battle going. Anything could happen at this point. We got 2 laps left, Evan.
You see how close that Brad Spidle gets to the wall. Sometimes if you drive it in harder, you kill yourself on entry. If you take it a little bit easier on there, you're going to better run off, but that guy in front of you pulls away within 2 laps to go. It's the only spot inside the top 5 that is really up for grabs. No, how about Matt Hoos? The the inside on Lowell Jewell for P5. The white flag going to be coming out this next time by for Christopher Hensley, but Lowell, who just made it to the top 5, that is not going to last. The 21 of Matt Who slides up to 5th. The battle for second rages on down through 1 and 2 for the final time, though, but in season race number 2 for the 2015 Season 2 Championship for the Outlaw Modified Series. Started up in 6th, had to move his way through and checkered flag in the air. Your winner from Stafford Springs in the 75-lap event goes to Christopher Hensley. Matt Shinosky hangs on for that P2. Spottle, Nuss, and Hoos round out the top 5 after Lowell Jewell ran about 1-2 laps short of maintaining that spot.
Tough break for Jewell. I know he really wanted that top 5. Couldn't quite pull it off, but hey, hats off to that racing up front there between Shinosky and Spidel to keep those cars in shape enough and give each other enough space to finish this thing under a green flag, because trust me, if Spidel wanted to push the issue, he could have. All it would have taken is one time deep into one of those turns, and Shinosky would have been around and into the wall or into the infield. But again, if Brad wanted to push the issue, he certainly could have.
And we had seen that it wasn't a last lap move for the top spot, but in the end it was a maneuver with that chrome horn that you feature, that you talk about, that's an option to go to with these SK modified race machines. And it was eventually what Christopher Hensley had to do to go to the inside, ushering at that time Donnie Moore out of the way, and he continues to celebrate down the front stretch, down the pit road. He'll pull it into the Well and All-American Series victory lane for the Stafford Motor Speedway as this race comes to a close. We'll step away for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, the post-race show on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll talk to Hensley, Shinosky, Spinal, and maybe more. The Stafford Springs 75 goes to Christopher Hensley. Back live at the Stafford Motor Speedway as the Bootleg Racing League's 2015 Outlaw Modified Series Season 2 round 2 of 11 event has come to a close. The Stafford Springs 75 goes in favor of the car that had to start in P6. Christopher Hensley wins it after having to make a move to get there. And the middle portions of this event had to hang on for one final restart and ends up taking it home. We're here with the GSRC post-race show from Stafford Springs and going to try to get an opportunity to talk to some of the drivers here. Going to try to queue up our third place finisher, driver of the number 76, Brad Spinell. Brad, you got a copy?
Yep, well, I'm with you.
We're talking about going into this event now, the second race of the season. 1 week ago at Martinsville, this racetrack, kind of a paperclip, but very different in its own rights. You finished this race exactly where you started, but it was not a race of just ride in line, and that is all she wrote. Walk us through the evening for the 76 team after starting on the inside of row 2 and ending up coming home in P3 at the end of the evening.
This race I wanted to start differently than I did last week, which I wanted to save tires last week, and it just got me into trouble, so I figured I'd stay up front, try to do the best I could.
You guys look forward into this championship now, 11 races in your 2015 Season 2 campaign. Obviously, everybody, the goal would be to not only win races, but to take home a championship. 2 races into this, and now 9 left to go. Brad, what is your assessment maybe on what you guys can do rolling forward here to try to take these top 3s, translate those into trips to victory lane?
Stay up front as long as you can. Hopefully someone in front of you messes up. Get a pass that way.
We saw that the inside was really the place to be, and it was a move for the top spot using the chrome horn on the front of these SK Modifieds that ended up giving a win to the 63. That was earlier on, but we saw a lot of guys, they tried the high side, it didn't work. How aggressive did you have to be to not only try to make passes, but as well maintain where you were running when you had guys breathing down your back?
I wouldn't say aggressive, just drive sensibly and wait for someone to mess up. That's the only way you can pass on this track.
We roll forward now. The third race in this championship will be in 1 week's time from the USA International Speedway. What are your thoughts going into round 3?
I'm looking forward to USA. I do pretty good there, just like I did tonight. I like Stafford too. Stafford.
It was a solid night. It's going to be a podium, P3 out of 16 total. You are on the podium, Brad. Before we let you go, any sponsors or shout-outs you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Good Time Ice, local company out of Pennsylvania, and you guys for putting on this show. I watch it every time after the race. So thank you guys, and see you next week.
Thanks for taking a moment to talk with us, Brad. We wish you the best of luck at USA. Hopefully we'll talk to you again on the podium, if not a trip to victory lane. Good luck next week in that 76 car.
Thank you.
That is your third place finisher. After starting there, it's exactly where he wraps up. Brad Spinell, the number 76 entry, comes home in what is going to be a P3 this evening. Now, a little bit further down pit road, caught up with our second place finisher and pilot of the number 35 machine, Matt Shinoski. John Ambrose, you are down and you've caught up with him.
Yeah, I am down here with Matt Shinoski. Matt, great run for you tonight in the MAV TV machine. How you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I usually don't do very well with this car. So this is, I think, my best ever run with this car.
Really? Not a lot of experience, or just not a really good car for you?
It's just not a really good car for me. I do well with some of the other cars in the other short track cars in iRacing, but this one usually not. And I certainly wasn't the fastest one tonight. But the Ryan and Brad, they all raced me very clean. It's hard to pass with these cars because they don't have much power, but they could have used the chrome horn on me and they didn't, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a really good job there by Brad to not kind of bully you around there. You had him all in your mirror right there, and I got to wonder, were you a little nervous there?
Oh, yeah, I was sweating the last 10 laps. I was real nervous.
Well, certainly a caution flag isn't what you wanted. Did you really think you had any chance to catch Hensley at all?
No, Chris was just a lot faster. The best I could do was to hold on to second place. I could not catch Chris.
Well, man, that's gonna rocket you up in the points after only 2 races in this championship season. What do you think about your chances at USA?
USA is a really fun track. I think it's a favorite of a lot of drivers, and it's certainly one of mine. And I'll just go down there and do the best I can. Have fun.
All right, man. Well, hey, we really look forward to seeing you next week. Can't wait to get down to USA Speedway and see how you run next week. But before I let you go, who do you want to thank tonight?
Oh, mainly I just want to thank Lowell and Matt for putting on this league and running it. They do such a great job. It's such a great league. And again, I want to thank Ryan and Brad for racing me so clean. It was a really fun race.
You know, it really is fun when you got guys that race you clean, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And we've got a bunch of them in this league. That's the best part about this league is the quality of drivers and how everyone is very clean.
Yeah, when you can trust the guys around you, that really promotes a really special brand of racing. And again, we were really happy to see you out here tonight and get a nice second place finish. Maybe we'll see you at the top of the podium next week, all right?
All right, thanks a lot. Get easy.
All right, Matt, thank you. We're going to throw it back to Evan as he's going to get with our race winner and talk to Christopher Hensley, who also had a great run last week. And we had him in the booth last week. We're going to get him back here, and Evan's going to talk to him now.
We spoke to him 1 week ago at the Martinsville Speedway, and this time it is from atop the pile. Your winner from the Stafford Springs Speedway and the Stafford Springs 75 is Christopher Hensley. Chris, you started this one P6 due to the inversion. You come home atop the pile. Nobody could catch you. You ran away. You had to survive one late race restart. How'd the evening go, and how did you make it look that easy?
Well, the thing drove good tonight. I don't know what it was. This track, the car, I used the apron a little bit. The thing was just on rails, and not much I could do to mess it up. Almost did a few times. Before I say anything else, I should apologize to Donnie Moore. I got into him a little. Looked like he checked up and spun him. No caution came out for some reason, and then I really felt bad for spinning Matt out. I wasn't sure if I came up. I didn't think I did, and after watching the replay, I didn't. I know he didn't expect me down there on the apron, but it was definitely a fast car tonight, and it's pretty cool.
And then again, you had to hold everybody off on that one final restart, which came just inside of 20 laps to go. There was the possibility that, you get a couple of them if you get a few yellows, but I guess maybe the tone was set on that second green flag stint when we had big trouble down the back. And then again, you talked about your contact with Donnie there, staying green through that. Were you pretty confident that as long as you nailed that restart, there was nobody else there behind you that could, put up a good challenge? Or were there a couple of names there that you were really concerned about based on their speed throughout the evening?
Not really. The only person I would have been scared of was probably Donnie, and it's unfortunate what happened there. And other than that, he was the only one that would have made me nervous. I think. You know what? I got a good restart once I got out there when we had the long green flag run. I was really just taking it easy, trying to save my tires, and I was still able to keep a little second or a little more over Matt there, and worked out for me, I suppose.
It definitely ended in a positive note for you guys because you're going to walk away with the most points in this one and the checkered flag. Chris, we roll forward for race 3 now in this 11-race championship, going to be at the USA International Speedway in Lakeland, Florida, 1 week from tonight. What's your thought process and how confident are you going into that event?
Oh, pretty confident. We'll see, just got to take it one race at a time. We got to get there and put down some practice laps and see what we can do. I'm sure Ron will be back next week. I know Donnie will be there, and of course Matt. He might be a little angry with me now. After the race, he gave me a little chrome horn there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Should be good racing with these guys. It's always good racing, thanks to Lowell and Matt. Them guys they put on a hell of a league here, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun and really exciting.
Before we let you go, I know there's a lot of people maybe behind the scenes that may not get a lot of credit. Any sponsors or shout-outs, people you want to thank while we got you on the microphone?
Yeah, my family, Jessica, Walker, Travis, Mira, got another one on the way. Just thank them. They support me here, and let me do this on a Saturday night. Not many wives will let you do that. So yeah, absolutely. They're behind it. They're the ones letting me do it. So got to thank them and the BMWD Teamsters and like I say again, Lowell and Matt. Definitely the two guys behind the scenes that make this happen. So
we would like to thank them too for letting us borrow you this evening. You're the winner this evening from Stafford Motor Speedway. Chris, congratulations, and we'll look for that 63 to try to back things up at USA. We'll see you in a week.
Okay, sounds good. You guys take care.
Again, it is your winner this evening after starting from P6, the BMW ED entry. It is the Teamster 63 car that ends atop the pile. We were able to talk to everybody on the podium. Talk to Matt Shadowski, who came home in second. Brad Speidel came home in third, as we give you the Global Sim Racing Channel full field rundown from Stafford Motor Speedway. Ryan Nuss would come home in second, and Matt Hoos, one of the drivers that found a little bit of contact out there, and we heard Christopher's side of all of those things there when we talked to him. Sean, he would round out the top 5.
And hey, Evan, just real quick, contrary to popular belief, I am not making popcorn in the broadcast booth right now.
I'm getting hungry. I heard that too.
I'm getting hailed on right now, really, really bad. One of those things you have to deal with in Texas in the spring. But anyway, as we rounded out the top 5, let's go to Lowell Jewell. Tough break there with just a couple laps to go. Has to surrender that top 5 position and moves to 6th in the 55 machine. Donnie Moore finishes in 7th tonight after starting in 4th in the number 26. Jeff Rudolph, kind of a tough evening for him, but he did start in 14th and managed to get his way up to 8th. And a good run for Jeff. Brian Neff, who we saw up there for so much of the race, started in 12th and does wind up in 9th after getting into a little bit of trouble there. And then rounding out our top 10, Dennis Ellis in a number 7 machine finishes in 10th place. And there is your top 10. Evan, I'll let you take the rest.
There were quite a few spots where drivers finished exactly where they started. Dennis was one of those. 2 more cars behind him are able to maintain a lead lap status. You got Brian Young, who comes home in P11, rounding out our lead lappers in 12th, the 05 of Kenny Morris. 3 machines that were 1 lap down. Tim Knott in a 41 car comes home 13th. The 19 of Philip Temples comes home 14th, and 15th is Ernest Brown in the number 8 car. And then 1 machine that sat out of this race did not make it really to get going. Tyler Young had the ability to do so. Those connection issues prevented him from actually being able to compete in this event. So, fortunately for us, that hail, or I still think it's popcorn, but we'll call it hail, Sean. That didn't prevent you from getting up here. I wasn't here for Martinsville. I did go back. I watched it. It was an exciting one. Tonight was no different. Nobody said that if you're going to win a race, you're going to make friends doing so. Christopher Hensley taking it to victory lane tonight, and now we look forward 9 races to go. Before we sign off from this one and head into the USA International Speedway, final thoughts on the Stafford Springs 75.
Well, you know what? Listen, I wanted to get to this all night and really get a chance, but Stafford Springs is the home of the SK Modified. It's where it all started. Back in the late 70s, the Arute brothers decided they needed a less expensive option to the Tour Modifieds that were so expensive, so many rules that regulated them. They came up with this car that was a lot less expensive, more of a turnkey operation. They created a car that appealed to everyone and that everybody could afford to get out and do the local short track racing that is the grassroots of what we now know as NASCAR. Some of the all-time greats have come up through the modified ranks and made their way into what we now know as the NASCAR series. And as we talked about earlier, a real storied history. We saw a great race tonight. 16 cars is a really good number to start with on this track. As you saw, the walls come up quick, and with everybody running so close, things can get out of hand real quickly, like we saw in that first caution flag. But we saw a great one tonight, and I'm really happy for Christopher Hensley. Just a tremendous run for him. He was in charge all night, and he really didn't show any signs of wavering there at all. And again, just a hat off to him, and can't wait to see everybody back at USA Speedway. Can't wait to get back in the booth next Saturday night. And Evan, can't wait to work with you again.
And pop the popcorn before we go on air next time. You talk about USA. USA is we talk about how Stafford's a staple of short track racing in real world. USA really is a staple in iRacing, Sean. You can go on to the hosted sessions at any time, find something at USA. You can go into the official series races at any time, find something almost all the time at USA International Speedway. A lot of people have track time there, so I feel like with that experience, I think we're going to be looking forward to a really good one next week. You look forward on the schedule, you got Oxford Plains, Thompson, Langley, Irwindale, Bristol, South Boston, Lanier, and New Smyrna through the championship on the 27th of June. This whole season is packed full of great short tracks.
It really is. And listen, again, short track racing is the grassroots movement that gets everybody up to the big show. And make no mistake, these short tracks are just as challenging as some of your biggest tracks on NASCAR, on the regular NASCAR series. The challenge and the determination it takes, it's real close quarters. None of these tracks are big. None of these tracks have a lot of space to make a lot of moves, and you've got to be patient, you've got to be consistent, and you've got to have the will to put yourself up front, Evan. Again, we saw a great one tonight, and I expect at USA we're going to see a great one next week too.
And we look forward to that event after Christopher Hensley tops the pile in this one from Stafford Springs, Connecticut. We want to thank as well all the people that make things possible on our end of things here at the Global Sim Racing channel. The people that help with the streaming equipment, obviously the iRacing.com sim. You got XSplit for free and easy live streaming and recording software, the Audio Technical Corporation, as well as Aver Media USA. As well, additional thanks to our camera sets, as always, that are provided by Dougie Beard, and our music that is provided by Eric Ekholm. Check him out online, ericekholm.com. It is ERIKEKHOLM.com. Stay up to date with the Global Sim Racing channel online at globalsimracingchannel.com, Twitter at GSR channel, and at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing channel. On behalf of the broadcast crew this evening, alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, Sean Ambrose, and our director, Kevin Brown, want to congratulate Christopher Hensley for winning the Stafford Springs 75. We'll see you as we continue on the road to the Season 2 Championship in the 2015 campaign for the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series. We'll see you in Lakeland, Florida at the USA International Speedway next Saturday night.